This is tea time. Yeah. Making a difference. One cup at a time. Tea time. So be sure to grab your tea, grab a seat, and tune in to Miss Liz. Tea time. Making a difference. One cup at a time. Tea time. Tea time.
Welcome to Tea Time. That's right. Miss Liz is back, and we are here having a local special feature today. We have the incredible Tim and Mary Pierre Tremblay coming in, and they are from the True Rest Float Spa in Cornwall, Ontario. That's right. We're doing local. So for all of my local listeners out there, please stay tuned and tune in for the whole show because there are some goodies at the end of the show. Before we get started, we're going to get you over to Miss Liz's YouTube channel. We're going to get you to ring that little doorbell so you can see these tea times at any time, morning, afternoon, or evening. You can catch these replays at any time if you missed the live show. If you have any questions or comments and you'd like to share them, please put them in the comment section or directly inbox me on my Facebook page, and I will get those out to Tim and Marie Pierre today. We're going to do something a little different today. We have a little video that we're going to start, but before we get all that started, we're going to do a disclaimer and bio, and then we're going to get Tim and Marie Pierre in here, and we're going to share some tea with you. And today's tea is therapy, empathy, and authentic. So that's the tea that we will be serving today, along with some incredible information about the True Rest Float Spa in Cornwall, Ontario. Disclaimer for Miss Liz's Tea Time live show. Miss Liz myself is going live using StreamYard. Before leaving a comment, please grant StreamYard permission to see your name at StreamYard.com. Please be advised that the content brought forward for any Tea Time show hosted by myself, Miss Liz, is always brought forward in good faith. However, it may bring forward dialogues and opinions that are not representative of my platform. The facts and information are perceived to be accurate at the giving time of airing. All Tea Time guests and audience participants are responsible for using their good judgment and taking any action that may relate to the discussion. The content brought forward may include discussions for some where they may be emotionally at risk. It is significant to know that the show is engaging in discussion forums only to offer and inspire awareness and connection and is not providing therapeutical advice. If you have any questions about the disclaimer or the panelist discussion, you may freely contact me, Miss Liz, through my email at bookingmissliz@gmail.com. Moving forward, should you choose to voluntarily participate in today's show in any aspect, I myself, Miss Liz, welcomes you. And should you decide that the show is not made for you at this time, I respect those wishes and will see you at a later show at a later date and time. And again, all Tea Time shows are done on Thursday, 3 p.m. and 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, unless it's a rescheduled special or surprise Tea Time, which is done Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So now a little bit about my guests, and then we're going to get the video, and then we're going to get Tim and Marie Pierre in here. So Marie Pierre is the owner of True Rest Float Spa in Cornwall, Ontario, discovered float therapy in her early 20s, and despite wanting to open a location of her own at that time, her dream wasn't able to be realized until 30 years later when her and her husband, Tim Tremblay, opened the first True Spa Float Spa location in Canada, along with the financial assistance of their silent partner, Donna Bennett. With a BA in social work, Marie Pierre has found her calling in being able to provide relief for those who suffer from various mental and physical health issues, such as anxiety, PTSD, depression, chronic pain, fibromyalgia, sciatic, all without using the use of highly addictive medications. Tim is the owner of the True Rest Float Spa in Cornwall, Ontario, finally discovered float therapy in 2015 while on vacation in Sedona, Arizona, after Marie Pierre had extolled its benefits for years. Immediately after his first session, he was truly impressed with the physical recovery effects experienced. The first experience addicted him to float therapy to the point that for the next 3 years, while traveling throughout the US and Canada, he searched for and floated at around 30 locations prior to making the decision to open their own float therapy center. Through those started the search for potential franchises, where they found True Rest, the world's fastest growing float therapy franchise. When they started with them in 2019, they were only 30 locations. As of 2024, True Rest has grown over 50 locations. The next goal for Marie Pierre and Tim is to see float therapy accepted by all insurance companies and benefit programs as a recognized therapy, since it is as far less expensive for them to pay for their clients to float than to pay out $1,000 every month for addictive medications. If float therapy were a pill, everybody would float. Dr. Justin Feinstein. Let me get the video going, and then I'm going to get Tim and Marie Pierre in here, and we're going to spill some tea together. Let me get them in, and let's spill some tea together. Welcome, Tim and Marie Pierre.
Thank you, Liz.
Hi.
Oh, did I lose you guys?
No, we're there.
No, we're here.
There we go. My ears are picking up to still the video, I guess. So welcome, guys. It is an honor to have you guys here today. So I'm going to get started as I always get my tea time started. Marie Pierre, who were you as a little girl, and who are you now as a grown woman? And then Tim, the same question for you after.
Well, I come from a small town in close of Quebec City. I grew up in the middle. My dad was a pharmacist. My mom used to work at a hospital, so I grew up with that kind of background with me. And I decided to go at university to help people because that was very important to me. It always been. I think that the empathy in me and the way that I care about people was a long reflection through my years. And then the woman that I am today, it just is the continuation. Sorry, my French. Everybody's getting
That's okay. We have French listeners out there.
So the continuation is still the same after that we've been able to open True Rest. I was to get in contact with the customer that became like a big family, and where they were sometimes telling story about themselves and me trying to help them and guide them. And it's just beautiful to see how much we can bring to the people by floating and how we can help them.
So Tim, same question for you. Who were you as a little guy, and who are you now?
Well, apparently I was a pretty quiet little guy until I hit about 13 years old. And then I don't know what happened. Suddenly I found like street hockey and everything else. And then I got very exuberant, very loud, and my whole personality changed as I grew up. It became very outgoing, and I still have that outgoing personality, but I also came from a family, where my dad had a very strong work ethic. My dad and I got into business together back in the early 90s. And I sort of learned my work ethic from him, and just in my upbringing, we were always in touch with people and wanting to help people. And, that's why, now having the opportunity here with the float spa, being able to help people has really benefited ourselves as a couple too, in growing closer to each other and closer to the people in the community.
So I had the chance to experience the spa, and it wasn't anything that I expected at all. It threw me for a loop. I was really amazed on how wow I felt afterwards, and the process and all of that. So let's get started with that. So somebody who would like to use a spa for the first time, tell us a little bit about the spa first, and the equipment and how it all came together.
Well,
Okay, go ahead.
yeah. Like you saw, for the people that are able to see the video, you get into a small room where we show a video to put people at ease at the start, and also to start cutting the time, meaning cutting with the outside, like start back just to relax and to be able to prepare mentally about what floating is, because like you said, it's something totally different. It's not like a regular spa. It's not just relaxation. It's much more than that. And so after them, I'm gonna explain them how to use like earplug, a little halo, in case that people have tendency not to trust the process of the water. And then I joke around a little bit with them, just to break the ice. And I'll let you continue.
And then after the video room, what we like is the way that we set it up was that they come out of there, then the door closes to the outside world. And once they enter the back end of the spa, a lot of people walk back here and are surprised at just how big it is once they walk through the first door. Then we have the restrooms that they can utilize before going into the pod suites. Then upon entering the pod suites, when it's the first time, we do a little tour of the pod, give them some instructions with that, and then lead them to their suite to float. We also actually have intercoms in the room, so if there's any questions they have or any issues during the float, they can actually buzz us up front, and we can talk to them. Like I just had one earlier today. She wanted to change the music during her float, so I was able to do that. And then after the float,
well, you come where you see us right now in the Oasis room, which I will offer you a tea or water, and I will offer you what I have in the back, which is the oxygen bar. It's a medical unit that we mix with aromatherapy, and we use it to boost the immunity system. We're going to use it to have clarity. It's going to go in your bloodstream. You're going to have a better sleep. You're going to have a better digestive system, better clarity as well. And this is a treatment that we give with the first float, so people can know all the benefit. Like it's kind of a buckle that you do, and then you continue. And some people come here, they color. I have coloring book, and they just sit there and relax. Sometimes first thing that I know, it's like a big family. They start talking to each other, and it's something that I love to see, because people today, they're with their cell and they forget how to communicate with others. And I find that it's a nice way to bring people together.
Yeah, just one thing about the aromatherapy too is that we do use essential oils in the aromatherapy, so there's no chemicals in the aroma. So it's 95% oxygen, with essential oils only. So for people that have any sensitivities to smells and so on, that's not going to affect them. And we even have one that's always pure. So for people that do not want any aroma, they can get the benefits of the oxygen just by using the distilled water in the
the oxygen bar was what really amazed me, because I was like, oh, so this is like a step 2, right? You get the pod, and then you get the float, and then you get the oxygen, and it actually felt good, to get that into your system and clean out, right? Because we don't clean our systems enough, right? We don't take that time for relaxation and stuff. The one thing that really amazed me when I went there was the pod. It looked like a spaceship. And it kind of reminded me of Mork and Mindy. Like, so for my older listeners, you know who Mork and Mindy was, with Robin Williams, right? And that's what it reminded me of. And when I seen you guys setting up, because it took a long process to get the business going, right?
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about 4 years, right? So tell us a little bit about that process for you guys.
Yeah, well, I mean, as we mentioned as you mentioned in our profile, I got into the float therapy in 2015, and then over the next 3 to 4 years, floating as much as I did. She floated when she could, but I was traveling more and had more opportunity to float. But I fell in love with it to the point where, when we realized we were going to move to this area, we were just trying to think, okay, what are we going to do for work? And so in 2019, I said, would you ever consider opening a float spa? And she says, yeah, I would consider it. And that's all I needed was that yes. And so that started me just searching. And of course, we didn't know the first thing about opening a float spa. So I was doing some research, and I'm like, man, for us to just go out there and open a float spa, we just don't know anything about it. So then I started thinking, maybe we should look at a franchise. And so that's when we found True Rest. There's actually about 2 or 3 in the US that unfortunately there's no franchises in Canada, but True Rest, on more research, I found that they were the largest one. So then got in touch with them. We actually paid for half our franchise in August of 2019. Paid the deposit. And then we paid the remainder of the franchise fee on March 1st, 2020. And then guess what happened?
We were in San Diego for our True Rest University, because we go through a university to learn more and to get more knowledgeable, to be able to share with people. So we arrived there the Friday night, and we could see, we had heard about COVID. And suddenly Justin said, okay, every Canadian on board, come back. So by the Monday, Tim looked at the news and he goes, we boot back out. And
so we spent the weekend. We had a nice little vacation in San Diego, but because that's where head office is for True Rest. And so I was listening to the East Coast news, and that's when they were talking about possibly closing the borders. And I just called up the head office at True Rest and said, you know what, we're out of here. We're not going to get stuck in. And then we got back home that day, and it was pretty frightening, because there was nobody. I've lived in Niagara for 40 years, and we were crossing the Rainbow Bridge, and there was 0 people on that bridge. I'd never seen that before in my life. So anyway, so we got back, and then it just with everything shutting down, we'd already had a yes from the bank prior to all that happening, doing it, moving forward on our own. Everything was in place. And then all of a sudden it was, we're not looking at startups for at least a year from BDC and RBC. And then it went to 2 years before they even started considering our things. And then because of other financial situations, the banks changed their requirements. And so that's sort of what put us into the delay, to where, and we just kept pushing through it because nobody knew how long the pandemic was going to last. So we actually signed our lease here in June of 2020. And then with all of the closures.
And when when we knew about COVID and everything, when we did the drawing here, Tim did all the drawing, and I put my little spin on it of certain thing like here. And I said, okay. And we had put like tape on the ground, measure like the 2 feet requirement. So and the hallway is so wide that I said, if something ever happen again, then I'm going to be set in stone that nobody can close us again.
Yeah.
So that was one of the things that was.
Yeah, we designed it with the pandemic in mind, so that if it was ever to happen again, we have the spacing between clients, and we can actually alternate our appointments as well, and it's large enough to separate everyone. But then, with all the closures, our lease finally kicked in November of 2021. We've been very fortunate with our landlord, our company, WBG here in town. They're one of the biggest commercial owners, and they've been great with us. They've been working with us in trying to stretch things out, and allowing us to just work through the delays that we had, to keep things going. But we had the
Delay of construction.
we had the plans, but we had the plans done in 2020. And then, we're like, okay, it was $25,000 to do that. We invested that into it already. And we couldn't just like walk away from this place and then go and choose another place and put another $25,000. So we had to work with our landlord in order to maintain this place all the way. But then again, we were thinking, it was going to happen in 2022, and then delays, and then it finally got started in 2023. But what was an amazing part of it is we actually got to the point where we thought this was not going to happen. So Marie-Pierre and I had spoken about it in, I think it was around November, December of 2022.
Yeah,
we said, we're giving it until February 28th, 2023. If we can't get the funding in place, we're shutting it down. We're going to walk away. We're going to take a loss. Fortunately, our partner would have taken a loss. And it came down to the only way that we could finance this was we had to sell a parcel of land that we had bought in 2019, planning on building here.
to be my dream home.
Yeah, out in Maxville, we had 4 acres of land that we had purchased prior to the pandemic.
To stay close.
And we decided to put that in the market in order to pay for 2 of the pods to offset somebody that was funding the other 2. And we said, okay, if this doesn't sell by the end of February, we're done. So here's empty land, 4 acres of land. Normally takes months and months and months to sell. We put it on the market on a Tuesday. We were in Montreal for a Habs game. Go Habs. For all the Habs fans.
2 days.
48 hours later, we got a call from our real estate agent saying that we had an offer on the property.
Wow.
And so we're saying, okay, there's something greater behind this that's pushing it. And so we were able to close the deal there, get all the funding in place, and then it started to roll really quickly. And we started the construction or the demolition in about April, and then the construction started in May. Ran to it should have been done in 90 days, but
we all know what construction is.
So,
and then one crew or something, everything, like somebody that want to open something, never think 90 days, those days doesn't happen. Think in your mind a year.
Well, and that's why I like having businesses on Teatime as well, right? Because it shows the transformation. It takes time to build, and you have to have that self-belief in yourself as well, and sacrifices. You guys made those sacrifices in order for this to happen. We have a question here for you guys. How are the pods made, and what is actually in the pods?
Okay, so the pods are a fiberglass form. It actually comes in 7 pieces. That's the only way we get these in the door, because they're over 8 feet in diameter, and then we just reassembled them once they were inside. But the inside is a single piece tub that has no seams or anything into it, and it's basically set up like a pool or a hot tub
with a dome.
Yeah, and it actually has an exterior filtration system that we run everything through. So the water is filled with 10 inches of water, and in there is 1,350 pounds of magnesium sulfate, or as we know, Epsom salts, and which are very healthy for the skin and hair and everything else. But what's important, I'll let you talk about the skin in that in a second. The filtration system, because that's what everybody always asks. Do you dump the pods between clients? Well, obviously with 1,350 pounds of salt, pretty expensive to dump that every time. And it takes 4 days to dissolve that much salt at one shot. But with the filtration system we utilize, it actually turns over 3 times between clients. So it runs through the filtration system, runs through a UV filter. And then when we don't have clients, it's constantly running. So even if we're full all day long, from 10 o'clock at night till 10 o'clock in the morning, it's constantly filtering. So, and then we also use the best product in the market for hot tubs, pools, spas, whatever it's called, Peroxysan. It's a hydrogen peroxide mix, 29%, and it's just one-step product. We don't have to use pH up, pH down, anything like that. It just the one product, but it sanitizes it completely. It's better than chlorine, bromine, all those other products, and it also helps in keeping the skin soft.
And also the other question that I have all the time, like when people have concern, and I said, what grows in the Dead Sea? It's dead. Nothing can grow in it. And the Dead Sea has 17% of density of salt. We
Wow.
are at 35% density of salt. Nothing can grow in that on top of everything. And what you were saying about the peroxysan, it also transfer into oxygen.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why that you won't have like rash or something. And you'll see that when you float, you don't prune, you don't wrinkle.
And that's because of the magnesium sulfate. It actually hydrates the skin.
And I had some people with eczema. I had some people, what's the other one? Eczema and psoriasis that came clear of skin, clear.
Oh.
And that's why that I call the pod the little miracle.
Yeah.
It's like it's helping at so many levels, like that is physical and mental, but I'm sure that we're going to go through
into
that.
the benefits of it. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so that's answer, I think, the question about the filtration and about how clean the pods are. You came, you saw the room. It is spick and span, and for me, it's very important, the cleanliness of the whole place.
Well, when I went in, you have a shower before we go in and then shower when we come out. So tell us a little bit of why we have to do that. And when I got into the pod, I was like, how am I going to float? Like, am I going to sink in the water? Like, when you take a bath, right? And your body sinks. So is it the salt that actually lifts the body?
Yeah, correct. So, I mean, the purpose of the shower beforehand is to get off any body oil, sweat, and stuff like that, any product out of the hair. And, we direct people when they come in, it is a quick shower before, and to take a lukewarm shower because the water is only 94 degrees body temperature. So if you take a hot shower, it's going to feel cool. But then you're already clean, and we provide the soap, shampoo, and conditioner in the rooms. So when you get out of the pod, all you have to do is just rinse off the salt. You're already clean. So you're just getting the salt off, so you don't walk out looking white, because it gets pretty crusty if you don't rinse off after the float. I've done it a couple times where I've forgotten to rinse the lobe in my ear, and I've got this white crust over my ear afterwards, and I'm talking to clients up front after a float. But then it was about the salt. And with the 35% density, that's what causes the flotation, because it's so dense in there. And I mean, it's amazing to know that there's that much salt in there, because it's clear. You look at the pod, and it's not cloudy at all. It's perfectly clear. But that much salt just automatically forces the body, and you're actually halfway out of the water. That's how buoyant it is. But what makes that amazing is the fact that we are constantly pulled down by gravity every single day. And whether you're laying on the most comfortable bed in the world, you're still going to have pressure points, and there's still gravity pulling down. It never gives your body a chance to fully rest. And that's what the pod does, is when you're lying in there, it's like lying in a cloud, because with the water being body temperature at 94 degrees, you can't tell where your body ends and the water begins. So you literally feel like you're floating in thin air. And and then that allows your body to decompress and to really get at a true restful point.
It's like if we send you into space for an hour, basically. That's the feeling, like you were saying about the spaceship. Well, it's also how your body feel. And if you put your hand in the water, you'll see that even if you try to push, it's
I tried.
you just go back.
I tried. I was like, it doesn't work. It goes right back up. And that's what really shocked me, because I can't swim, right? So I was like, oh my God, I'm going to sink in this thing. Like all of those thoughts, right? So somebody who's going for their first time and they have these thoughts like I did, how can we get them to just feel the ease? Because you guys made me feel so welcome when I got there. Like you walked me through it. And I had hearing aids, so I had to take my hearing aids out. So and that. So when the float was done, it also rotates, correct?
Yeah, well, I mean, the water, well, you just sort of probably spun around because the water itself is so calm when you're in there that any little twitch that you do, you will move your body. So some people do get completely turned around when it's dark. Like not everybody turns off the light though. Go ahead.
And exactly what you were saying at the end, like a lot of people say, okay, there's music or no music. I'm going to know that my hour is up. And then the first thing is there's a voice coming inside the pod saying your float is now over. If you don't hear that, it's okay. Then there's a circulation jet that starts, and normally you will move with the water. So that's your second warning. And if you still fall asleep, then you're going to have Mr. Radio voice say, hey, welcome back. And come to meet us in the Oasis. So it's like, it's very friendly, very, I don't know how to there's no reason to stress over things. So that's for me, when I explained it to the people, I said, don't worry. And even if you fall asleep, I will knock on your door. So don't worry about time. Don't worry about your phone. Close it. Just enjoy your me time with yourself. And you are in control. You can leave the door, which open till 130 degrees. So for people that suffer from claustrophobia, they just leave them open. And it's like a hot tub with a dome with big doors. So people, it's very easy because the seat is that wide. So you can do transfer. If a person has problem doing transfer, I have handles that we can put on top of that. So, and that's your suite. You are in control of the doors, about the light, about the music. So you're very, very,
It's just your private suite for an hour.
Basically.
So let's talk about the benefits, because we talked a little bit about them for psoriasis and eczema and that. But what other benefits do you get from the spa?
Well, first I want to just address, the name True Rest is actually not just the name of the business. The second half of that name, Rest, is actually the acronym for what flotation therapy is. It's reduced environmental stimulus therapy. So and that's where when you go into the pods, it used to be known as sensory deprivation. And that sort of freaks a lot of people out when they hear about that. But it doesn't deprive your senses of anything, because in the old days it was just, you didn't have the choice of lights. You just had to go into this dark pod, nothing, just go in, close the door. And so people that are claustrophobic or scared of the dark or scared of the water, they couldn't do it. And now they've sort of adapted it to accommodate more users, because just the flotation by itself is beneficial. But when you do the full experience, where you close the lights and you shut out all stimuli, that's actually where you have the biggest effect for the body and mind. And so I don't go, she does the full effect. She goes dark and no music. I have too active of a mind that it never shuts down. So I have to have music or sound going in the background, even if it's white noise or just something for my mind to focus on. And trust me, people do fall asleep. I just heard one of our clients snoring last night. I went to the back and I was like, what's that sound? And he was snoring loud. So people do fall deep asleep in that. So they get into a real deep state that allows their body and mind to totally relax.
Deep state. You basically go in what they say theta mode. We have different steps, and theta mode is where people's going to use it for hypnose, for going meditation, for just release. And that you want or don't want, your brain have its own mind. It will do it. I have people that will, well, not here, but we have people that's going to use it to learn another language or to listen to exam, or because it will activate your brain on that side, learning without you having to study. So it will reduce anxiety until 35% when you do a regular float. It will, and it's not just us that say it. There is study, like you mentioned about Dr. Justin Feinstein, which he is a sommelier in the industry, and he did a lot of research that you can go and see the research and the result and everything. So
for that research, for listeners, it's clinicalfloat.org. It has all of his, not just his, but all of the publications on float therapy that have ever been done, both the written ones, and there's also several YouTube videos, TED Talks and stuff like that, that people can listen to regarding float therapy.
That even like, so anxiety, stress, PTSD, trauma, and what Tim was saying, with what just quote with what happened with Maui that we all know with the fire. Well, Dr. Justin Feinstein just sent 3 pods down there and help people over there to float for free to get past their trauma. And there's even a video where he's talking with a first respondent, firefighter that did a 12-week, and he was explaining step by step what he felt with the water and how it helped him to release some of the trauma and just to be at peace with everything that he had seen.
And also with the firefighter, they talk about sleep deprivation, because when they get into these big forest fires or even like a big fire, they work long shifts. A lot of them work 12-hour shifts, sometimes longer. And the amazing thing about being in the pod is that even if you don't fall asleep, 1 hour in a pod gives your body the equivalent of 8 hours of sleep. That's what the recuperation ability is for 1 hour in the pod. It's equivalent to 8 hours of sleep at night.
And it also works with the emotional balance, right?
Mm-hmm.
In the body.
Yes. Yeah. And another thing that we always forget to talk about is on the other side. So this is on the relaxation side, but for athletes. So a lot of athletes, they think they see the word spa and they're like, ooh, I'm not going there. It's I'm not getting my mani-pedi done. And, but the therapy side of it, the recovery for an athlete is absolutely phenomenal. There are some big names in the industry, Steph Curry, Tom Brady, the New England Patriots actually have float therapy in their clubhouse. There's the Columbus Blue Jackets that use float therapy regularly. There's several university football teams that they go and they float the day before. We
have some athlete too, local, that do the
marathon,
marathon, triathlon that had come. And I even have 2 books where people can tell their story. And a person was skeptical, and right after one float, he wrote, I can tell you that it worked after running. One was a 25K,
Yeah.
and another one was a 5K in the morning. And then he doesn't feel the acid lactic.
The lactic acid, yeah.
French.
The magnesium sulfate will actually draw the lactic acid out of your body. So athletes will recover up to 4 times faster after physical exertion. So this one client of ours here, one guest of ours, he normally took 4 days to recuperate before he could do training again for the marathon. He was able to start training again 2 days later.
Wow.
After floating. So the recovery is phenomenal. So there's so many different ways that flotation therapy can be used. Even for some CEOs and business owners, they will actually go in and they'll brainstorm in the pod because they can shut out the world. They don't have all people talking to them and, the board of directors and everything else. They just go in there and they just use that hour to get away, and they use that just to think.
And another physical benefit, and this is one of the local chiropractor that explained me, because I said, okay, explain me what it does physically. And he was telling me, well, because you're in zero gravity, what happens, your spine going totally in decompression, and then it can realign. So when they go after to see a meso or a chiro, then the back is back straight. So it's much easier for other people to work on a customer, and just the pain relief. And sometimes when I float, I just go and just stretch, and then I hear by itself. So it's like, it's not because I want to crack, it does it. It's not something forced. It's something that the nature is doing. Like, we live with nature on our side. We've been studying the nature. We've been looking at everything, the benefit. Like before, like pharmacy, it was apothicaire that they were crushing leaves. So before all those harsh medicine that we were putting in our body, it was herb. And now we have those addicting pills, and we know some of them, some of people needs, and I'm not saying never stop your pill without talking to your doctor.
Yeah.
Okay. But some of the people, for the pain, they take that instead of pain meds, headaches, migraine, fibromyalgia, you still, but the pain goes away. Like one of the girl was, the first time was 24 hour, the second time was 48. She went up to 84 hour without pain.
After a float.
And I have a customer, I call her my little miracle. If she listened, you know who you are. And her hands she have original pain syndrome. For people that know a little bit medical, it's after a car accident, and her hand was thick like this. And we took picture in 3 weeks, and I have the picture to prove it. Her hand was that thick, to moving her finger, to close the finger, to bending 45 degree. Wow. It was like, yeah. So it was like, even me, I didn't expect to go that fast. And I'm still amazed sometimes with the story of the customer that share. And I'm like, wow, I didn't know that I could help for this. Thank you for sharing, because it seems to be even bigger than what we expected to help. Detox.
We see all the studies, and we've experienced it ourselves, but to see it actually happen, and then for things to happen that we weren't expecting, like we had one, because we don't have, for ourselves personally here, we don't have an age restriction for users. As if we've had as young as 7 years old come in with their mother to float beside them, we'll let children float with their parents in the pod, and she had, her ankle was swollen like a football. After one float, it was back to normal size.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it was, we've seen all these results, and that's why we don't put a restriction on it. Some float spas do not let any kids come in or any young people come in under 18. But you know, the young people these days, their stress and their anxiety levels are starting at 11, 12 years old. And there's no reason, there's no reason, but just the anxiety that they're going through. You know, we hear of young people at that age that are already taking medication for anxiety, medication for depression. And why restrict them to something as effective as this? And, you know, that's, you know, you mentioned also in the opening about our goal, along with the whole industry, is to see this accepted by insurance companies and benefit programs, because it's far, far more affordable for the insurance companies. One, two, it doesn't affect the person in a bad way regarding addiction. Like, I mean, it's not a bad thing to be addicted to floating. You're not going to get any side effects.
You won't have an overdose of floating.
Exactly.
So let's go into that, guys. How many floats can you do in a month?
You can float every day if you wanted to.
Every day.
Every day. Yeah.
And I have some customer and me. I try to do once a week, a 2 hour at the time. And I have other of our customers that are hooked now to do a 2 hour at the time. Basically, it's 2.5. So it's 1 hour, and we don't do the cleaning in between because it's the same person. Yeah. So, and I have seen the benefit of the people that are regular in doing it, and how they talk to us about how zen they are and how better they are. For me, I would float more often, but I still have to work. So
yeah, we have to leave room for the clients.
So what is the maximum of a float? Like, I know that you guys do the 1 hour float for your clients and that. What is the maximum if anybody wanted to be?
Well, we have the 1 hour and the 2.5 hour. So a person can float up to 2.5 hours per day if they have an unlimited membership. You know, because we have, you know, there's several pricing structures that we have here. We have multi-float packs, memberships, and then, you know, when a person is a member, they have unlimited use of the oxygen aromatherapy every month too. They can use it. They don't even have to be floating to utilize it. But yeah, so it's like up to 2.5 hours per day a person could float.
So you guys gave me 3 words for your T, and your T is therapy, empathy, and authentic. Why those 3 words, guys?
Well, I guess I'm talking about therapy. One is, you know, the fact that, you know, the flotation therapy that we've brought to Cornwall, you know, is so helpful in all different. Some people just use it for just straight out relaxation, but to see the effects it has for the people that suffer from PTSD, depression, anxiety, you know, chronic anorexia nervosa, chronic pain, you know, to provide a therapeutic center here in town that does not have any zero side effects. You know, it means a lot to us. And, you know, I mean, it's a small town here, you know, so it's not the typical place that a True Rest would open. We went to bat for the area because we felt that, you know, this part of Ontario needed something like that. And, you know, you know, so that's why we put therapy in as the first one. And then under empathy, she can talk about that.
This is me, because I get to talk on one-on-one to people. I'm the one the most that receive personal, and in the books also that people tell their story, and sometimes it can get very personal. So you have to have empathy. You have to want to help others. You have to be able to see it, because it did happen that a person felt a little bit nauseous, and then I just walk her through. I explain her why. It goes much more beyond just the therapy. That's why the empathy is the second word. So it's like a bouquet of flower. It's not only one, it's like
Well, when I went there, you really took the time to share everything, right? Because I had a lot of questions, like what does the oxygen bar do, the float, and explained and all that. And we had a heart to heart talk, and I think that really makes a difference in a business when you take the time for the client, right, to understand the process and that.
Yeah.
So you're
And as far as the authentic part is that what you see right here is what you're going to get. We're who we are, and we're the same way with the clients, whether we're here, at the front desk or in the Oasis room, or we meet you out in public. We're the same way all the time. We're just our authentic selves all the time.
So do you guys want to tell us a little bit about packages and all of that, and any offers that you have, or any plans or events that you have in the future in Cornwall?
Yeah, actually, we just got accepted, thankfully, to the trunk sale. We're going to be doing a truck sale on November 2nd and 3rd at Marlin Orchards. There's over 120 vendors there, and they were only picking 20 new vendors this year, and we got added in there because we're sort of a unique business for them as well. The last time we did the Fall Fest, which is the same group, the We Three Girls group. What's nice about the the trunk sale is that 10% of all proceeds from all the vendors actually go back to the community.
Yeah.
On top of what they give. And we had such a successful Fall Fest that we wanted to be involved with them again at the trunk sale. So when we do events like that, we always have a special package that we put together for that.
Just before to continue, and we also sponsor mental health, because that was something very big for me, because
The CMHA.
I suffer from I'm diagnosed with severe anxiety and PTSD and depression. And for me, if it can do good and to sponsor mental health, it's such a big thing, and people don't understand what happened to mental health. Like, I always give the example, if you have a cast, you won't ask somebody to go and run, but mental health, we don't see what the pain that the people are in. And then it's like floating helped so much. So when we did that, like, we had offer a float to people, like, on us, just to share and to help. And for me, that's one of the things. Before that, you start talking about the packages and all that. But for me to give back to the community, it's as important.
Well, I think, Mary Pierre, mental health is important, and floating, and that's self-care. Self-care is part of mental health, right? Taking care of ourselves. So thank you for that, and thanks for sponsoring mental health, because I'm a big advocate for mental health, and people don't see it. They don't know what we're going through. They see, okay, I opened a business, I go to work every day. Oh, she must be fine, but they don't see what's inside. So thanks for that. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, and that's what's unique about the float therapies is actually self-administered therapy. We're basically renting you a room for an hour, and you're doing all the therapy yourself. We might talk you through some things, but once you enter that room and you start floating, it's all on you.
If you trust the process, you will have so much benefit. And that's one of the things, like when we say you have to float 3 times to really. The first time I call it I don't know if I'm going to float. I don't know if I'm going to hear the music. Like, I don't know. The second time is, okay, I know my room. I know this. Okay. And by the third time is, okay, I let go. And so that's why that in the video of the first video, when you come and you see, she said 3 times, but I finally been able to put words on what is and why is 3 times. Some people can do it like in 15 minutes, but some other people takes longer. And with trust and with learning and let go, like, we're human and we have tendency to hold on and to put our trust into water. It's different.
It is. It is. It's a big trust thing because I was like, oh my God, I'm going to sink. I'm not going to float. And, so I was scared. But when I got in, I think it was the first 5 minutes and I was like, I'm okay. I'm safe. There's nothing going to hurt me here. But it does take time to build that trust, because it is different. It is new, and give it a try. I really recommend it for everybody to check it out, like, when I went, I was just like, that's not what I was expecting. It was completely different. So when I got home, I was just like, that's not what, it was completely different. It had
And
me.
that's one thing I want to mention is that because I know that your podcast goes around the world to 30 different countries and so on. So I just want to encourage that anyone listening to the podcast, wherever you are, is to look and search out float therapy in your country, in your location. See if there's something close by. In the U.S., it's taken off in the U.S. more than in Canada, but Canada it's slowly starting to creep up and becoming more recognized. So wherever you are, search it out, see if there's something close by to try it, and try it at least once, and then at least 3 times actually in order to find out, exactly if it is for you. And then for the local listeners, just to briefly go over what we have is that you do not have to be a member to float here. We have float packages that people can come in, but memberships provide a more affordable option for ones that want to float on a regular basis. And then, like I said, then the oxygen aromatherapy, again, people can come and just purchase the oxygen aromatherapy and just do time on the oxygen. They don't, again, have to float or have to be a member here to do so. And then with the membership, there's the other benefits of reduced prices on packages and everything else. So, and what we're doing though for local listeners that want to come in and try it is that normally our first time float is $59, but we're going to do a $10 off for anybody that has listened to this broadcast or listens to the recording of it. That if they mention they listened to Miss Liz Teatime, our broadcast, that will give them $49 for their first time float.
Well, and we can make them listen to the end by putting a special word. So if you have listened to the whole broadcast, push hashtag True Rest Float Spa. We're gonna make them work a little bit, right? So listen to it, and if you know of somebody that might benefit from this float spa, check them out, recommend them. Christmas gifts, you guys have a lot of packages as well for gifts for Christmas time that's coming, and support local. Miss Liz is a podcaster, but I still support the local businesses by getting them out there and spreading the word. I followed Tim, I believe it was in 2021 when you guys were just starting, because you had the tape on the ground and everything, and I was like, oh my goodness, this is so different, and I love different. So what final message do you have for everybody?
I would say, with how busy life is, how stressful life is, you don't have a choice. You have to take time for yourself.
Nobody will do it for you.
Yeah.
And try it. We need awareness on how to help people. And you've been such a big help to let us being
using
on your platform to be able to share. But even if people don't float, they talk to people that need it, and that we spread that we don't need to take sometimes harsh painkiller. I'm targeting the harsh painkiller because they do so much damage.
Yeah.
So much. And then give yourself that treat, because it is a treat. It's a therapy, but it is a treat. It's me time that nobody else can give it to you except yourself.
Absolutely. Well, thank you guys for joining me today on Teatime and sharing your story. And for all my local listeners out there, please check these guys out, and refer a friend. Christmas gifts, again, Miss Liz is big on supporting, and they support mental health as well. So check out CMHA. I know they have an event coming up in October. Check that event out as well. And for anybody that would like to know more about Miss Liz, you can check out my website at www.misslizsteatime.com. teatime.com. And if you would like to be a guest, Miss Liz only has 2 slots left for the year. I have opened 2 extra slots, so I am booked into the end. And then we'll see everybody at the end of December when we do a reunion show. Miss Liz is going to be doing a 5th annual event there. So I will be back tonight at 7 p.m. with a returning guest from season 1. Amy Hutton will be in, and she'll be talking about coming out of the rainbow closet at the age of in her 40s. So we're going to be sharing that. We talk all topics on Tea Time. So until then, keep sharing your teas, keep being true to yourself, and keep supporting one another. And we're all going to make a difference, one cup of tea at a time.